Last time on Faelora Bloomwing. A dark fairy found the baby and turned her into a fairy princess. That's me. And I made sand sculptures, but then they came to life. One was Nixarian and he ran off, and the other Caleb Thornshield waited patiently and helped us get the crystal of light. But it was guarded by a large sand monster. And he got us the crystal.
Yay!
And then my mom fell in love. And that's how we became the famous fairy family. And then Nixarian blasted the sand monster with magic and gave him legs. But that's a story for another day. But today's that day. Nixarian and the sand monster knocked on the door of Caleb and Faelora. And Caleb got ready to fight. But Nixarian said, "What makes you think we want to fight?" And Caleb said, "Well, you're dark fairies. You're obviously evil." And I said, "You know someone else who's a dark fairy who isn't evil?" And he said, "No one." And I said, "Your wife, Silva." And so I said, "Let's have a tea party to discuss." The sand monster apparently only fought us because his parents long ago said that he should only give the crystal to kind and worthy people, and then he just let us have it. And then Caleb said, "Well, it was a pretty easy fight." And so they all became friends. But then, now that my parents had got new friends, I asked my mom, "Can I have new friends too?" I wanted to go to school. And she said, "Fine, we'll send you to Fairy Life Learning Center." And then there I met a witch named Sophie Witchling. And she could fly on her broom, cast spells with her magical wand. And we became best friends. And then, as we were walking home to have a sleepover, we heard some crying coming from the bush. And it was coming from a bush, and we walked up to the bush, and I went, "Ah, talking bush!" And then a little voice said, "No, I'm down here." And it was a little flying hamster. And we became BFFs. It's a human saying, but I added the extra F. It stands for Best Flying Friends Forever. When we woke up from our sleep, me and Stardust, me and my flying hamster pet, we were thirsty. And so when we turned on the faucet to get some water, there was no water. It turns out the humans had took all the water from nature and used it for their own resources. From all the fairies and the other creatures too. And so we went on a quest to get the water back, and we did. And right as we were about to leave, we even got all our friends, Nixarian, Sophie, and Stardust, and the Sand Monster. I call him Sandy. And we went into the human's house, but right as we were about to leave, we got more than enough water. But right as we were about to leave, a cat attacked. And its name was Captain Meow Meow. And so back, I pulled its whisker, but it shook me off. Nixarian grabbed onto its back, but he fell off. And Sophie blasted him with magic, but it just bounced right off. And so we made a plan. And then Stardust Fluffy Fluff, my pet hamster, she flew into the office, and you know what cats pooping? What? Sand, and we just happened to have a sand monster. The sand monster pretended to be a litter box, and when the cat came to poop, it trapped him. And Sophie casted a sleeping spell. And so when we were about to leave, the doorbell rang. And we went and looked through the people, and it was just Amazon. And so we had a huge water party. Everyone in the village was invited. And we drank sugar water. And we got water back for all the creatures. And we lived happily ever after. There's a post-credit scene. One day we got a report where a place where there was endless water and food. And we moved in. But one day as we were sitting by the giant ocean, we saw a human get in their bathing suit. We had moved into a human's backyard. But that's a story for another day.